Good afternoon, everyone. We're gonna run a fishbowl for people that have never seen that before. It's an interactive panel discussion. So you see here 5 great people, and we're gonna start with them, introducing them and their project for a couple of minutes, not too long. After that, we're gonna invite them to do a second round, because the topic of today is philanthropy is broken, right? That's the topic of the fishbowl. So they're gonna introduce their topic, their project for a couple minutes. Then I'm gonna do a second round and ask about your perspective, maybe if you see positive evolutions, how we can solve this using community, using technology, just for a couple minutes. And then I'm gonna invite the public, because as you can see, we have 5 people here, but there's empty chairs. So whenever you feel like, oh, I feel very strongly about that, you get up, and don't be shy, you get up and you take the empty chair. That means that one of you has to go, right? And then we create a bit of a loop situation where people come in from the audience, take a seat, express their opinion, and then whenever somebody pops up, somebody has to leave. As you can see right now, we are not very gender balanced, right? One of the rules in a fishbowl is that we try to curate balance here, but that it's a shared responsibility with the crowd. So basically, the first person that has to come up right now is a woman, somebody identifying as a woman, all right? So it's a sweet invitation to all these beautiful ladies here in the room. Okay, good. Let's start with the first phase, an introduction.
Hi everybody, I'm Shot, aka Plug. I do public goods funding on NEAR, and I'm a core contributor at Potlock, which is an open funding stack focused on public goods.
Hey, I'm Jasper Driessens. I'm from GloDollar. We are a copy-paste of USDC, the stablecoin we all know and love, except for the fact that we're a non-profit. So Circle made north of $1 billion last year of yield on the treasury bills backing USDC. Great business model. We do the same thing, except all of that yield is given away to public goods and charities. So if you're using stablecoins as an individual, as a DAO or a company, you can switch to GloDollar. It works pretty much the same as USDC, but you get to choose a cause area like climate change or extreme poverty or crypto open source. And then every month when we make profits off of your stablecoins, we give these profits to the cause area of your choice, such that you can support a cause area financially without paying for it because you're just using a stablecoin, and that's free. So that's GloDollar.
Nice. A regenerative Celo ecosystem that also is supporting real world impact, positive externalities, public goods, etc. All that jazz.
Hi, I'm Lauren. I'm Lauren Luce. I work with Giveth. Giveth is a crypto donation platform. Actually, we have a QF round going on right now. That's sponsored by Climate Coordination Network and Celo and GloDollar. And if you donate in the round with GloDollar on Celo, you get Regen points. It's a whole thing. So anyway, Giveth is a crypto donation platform, and I've been in the space since 2020 working with Giveth. And I'm really passionate about this topic, philanthropy is broken, because I do think that, like, even though we're a donation platform, the end goal of Giveth is to kind of help nonprofits evolve out of the need for donations. So I think something we're doing that's really unique in Web3 is building economic systems that kind of can uplift people out of this sort of conceptualized idea that funding public goods and funding nonprofits needs to come with an element of sacrifice. It needs to come with somebody giving something up and kind of getting nothing for it. And it's just like, oh, we kind of like lean on the altruists to keep doing things that we need. that doesn't work. So I think this topic, philanthropy is broken, is really, really on point, and I'm super excited to talk about it, as well as just like innovations that are happening in the philanthropic space because of crypto. Anyway, I'm a product manager and I build a lot of these things, and and I love Giveth, and I'm happy to be here.
Hi, my name is Pranav Khanna. I'm here representing Climate Coordination Network. We encourage, promote, and fund climate projects. We believe climate to be the ultimate public goods. Done about 9 rounds, funded about 4 million, out of which 1 million has been QF crowdfunded. Hundreds of projects, and grateful to all the people out here in the audience who've been supporting and been part of CCN. So like everybody said, we are one big happy family, but as in a family, the old models get outdated, and we need some new ones. And there's a lot of experimentation happening, and really excited about this. And I'm going to take another minute and speak about another project that I'm contributing to. Sorry, as you can imagine, I'm not a very public speaker, so I forgot to mention the fact that I'm actually here representing my team, and a huge shout out to Ben, to Colleen, to John, to Marco, and to Tara, and all of these good people. And I just want to underline, all of us are volunteers for CCN, and hence I take this opportunity to give them some public love. So that's one. The other hat that I wear is a friend of mine, a colleague of mine is not here. I'm also a contributor at the Regen meme tip token, right, as we can call it. And that's essentially about capturing the Regen energy and really sharing the love, paying it forward, again, in the form of a meme coin. We've been experimenting with that with Xavier, with Leen here as Regen BXL. I hope you all experimented and got your ice creams and swags using your wristband. If you've not, you're missing out. Please do that. We are checking the system. So you're the pigs, you're the guinea pigs, right? So thank you. I took a lot of airtime. Thank you so much.
All right, let's do a second round. And Pranav, you mentioned it already a little bit, collaboration, working together, helping each other out. Maybe we can do another round. Where do you see this as a key point in fixing philanthropy? How is that showing up for you?
Lauren, maybe, yeah.
Yeah, please go for it.
Collaboration coming up as a key piece of fixing the philanthropy is broken problem. Okay, yeah. I think that's something that's really interesting that we're innovating with in the crypto space, is kind of like decentralized governments and sort of bottom-up economies too. Something that I think doesn't work well, for most people, is this top-down like hierarchical power structure where few people at the top hold most of the wealth, few people at the top make most of the decisions, and then so like even things like things we need in society, public goods, end up coming, with this like tone of being driven by capital, and like the incentives not really being aligned. Like we don't really get like education systems that are really designed to empower people. We kind of get education systems that are designed to make people good slaves of the system because it maintains the power structures with a few people at the top. And I think that this whole thing is broken, and that but public education is a public good. It's something that we need. And right now we have the world set up where those needs that we actually really need are provided for by governments, and we just sort of maintain these systems. But I think the kind of way out of that is getting better at bottom-up coordination, which comes with collaboration. I think all the experiments we're doing with DAOs and decentralized governance, and like how we can even distribute power among a variety of stakeholders that should all have influence. I think that that's kind of like a key point in sort of being able to start empowering people from the ground up. We've got I don't know if I can say this, but like we have the Wi-Fi password here is Eleanor Ostrom. It's on the wall, but anyway, the Wi-Fi password is Eleanor Ostrom. And Eleanor Ostrom is kind of a champion of this like idea of like the commons. And it's like there's no better person than the people on the ground who are, in it, that have the better capacity to make the solutions that will actually kind of like rule and govern them. So I think anyway, to get out of this sort of like need for sacrifice and need for top-down control, it really starts with collaboration.
Yeah, I think building on that with the topic of philanthropy is broken. I think there's the traditional paradigm, which is seeing private markets, free markets, private goods as the predominant system for driving all of these things, and then there's like okay, the stuff that actually benefits society, we'll leave that either to governments that we know have problems, or just pure charity out of the good of people's hearts. Whereas if we want to redesign systems, that's the kind of refi kind of thesis of redesigning systems so that that stuff is actually more embedded in the economy. We can either wait for the traditional system to change, or we can try and collaborate and coordinate, design new economies, use bottom-up coordination systems to actually bring those systems to life. And I think that's what part of the really exciting potential that we're exploring in Web3 and in refi is how do we build these collaboration systems, design new economies with new incentives so that public goods aren't like just something that has to be funded out of the good of your heart, but is directly embedded within the coordination incentive systems in the economy. So I think GloDollar is an excellent example of that. It's like you don't have to put sacrifice to just hold some GloDollars. You're just holding a stable coin and you're funding public goods. Those incentives are baked in. Like, why isn't that just the case with regular money? That just should be a default. And that's, I think, an excellent example. And there are many other examples in refi. And that's obviously what we're here to promote and talk about and what I'm obsessed with, basically.
Yeah, I might want to add some maybe key data points that we can use while we're having this discussion. And it plays into this idea of donation dependency and that we might want to get rid of it. So the data points are as follows. One is from the top of my head. The others I'll look up on my phone. The one from the top of my head is that on average, at least in the US, households tend to give away about 2% of their income per year in the way of charitable donations. So that's 2%, which I thought was actually quite high. However, 90% of that 2% stays within the American borders. So it's actually just 0.2% that American households are giving away to good causes outside of the US. Which means that, most people keep most of their money, which makes sense because, you have to pay rent and you have to pay for groceries and stuff like that. So it's sort of like creates this divide in your personal finances where a very small percentage is sacrifice and giving away, and then all of the other money in your life, you either keep it as savings or you're spending it in the for-profit economy. So if you add up all of that money that American households are giving away over the border, and you add up what companies are adding to it, because you also have corporate philanthropy, and you add up what the government gives away across borders, and then you don't just do that for the US, but you also do it for all other countries, then basically you get the total sum of non-domestic philanthropy, and it is $243 billion per year. That was in 2018. Unfortunately, I don't have more recent data. So that is $243 billion per year. You can sort of think of that as the cap of what we can do with donation-dependent philanthropy. Now, another interesting data point is that if we would have $1.1 trillion per year, so that's more than 4 times as much, then we can solve extreme poverty, hunger, malnutrition, HIV, malaria, tuberculosis, and apparently also prevent pandemics. Although I thought that was so like kind of hard. Like, how the hell do you estimate that number?
Catastrophic climate change as well.
Yeah, then the price tag becomes a little higher. But I think these are good things to try to do, right? But that would mean that we would need 4 times as much philanthropic capital as that we currently produce. So either you have to get a culture shift where we somehow change as a society to give 4 times as much of our money away, so basically increase the amount of sacrifice, or we have to have different models. And one model that I found very inspiring is what Patagonia did about 2 years ago, where the founder gave away pretty much all of the stock of Patagonia to this climate NGO. which means that if you're now going to buy a new sweater, and let's say you're planning to spend $150, and you're choosing which brand you're going to buy from, if you make it Patagonia, then the profit margin on the money you were going to spend anyways is going to end up with an NGO. So that's interesting, because that's, if you look at the pie chart of your household, then previously 2% was giving away, 98% was like injected into capitalism. And now with the Patagonia model, you sort of like increase the part of your pie chart that ends up with NGOs. And I thought that was an interesting non-tech model that we can take inspiration from.
Yeah, when I look at kind of philanthropy, I look at it as like the bucket of I'm giving my time and I'm coordinating, I'm building things, and then also I'm giving my money. And on the time and building things, I think something as a builder is a lot of people here are doing a lot of experiments, but a lot of times we don't think with kind of composability in mind, and that goes into collaboration. So kind of going with that perspective, like how do we build things that are easily composable? That way we can kind of, or even if we're doing a program, how do we operationalize that and export that elsewhere, I think is very important. But then going off of like the giving money side, I don't necessarily look at them as the most kind of altruistic person. I look at it as a perspective of like, okay, either I'm giving money because you guys are delivering a superior product and saving me money, or from the perspective of it is a better alternative than the status quo. And so from like the saving and the cost point perspective, I think a really good case is endowment, for example. So if I want to set up a DAF and not make the decision to, donate everything now, I would have to spend like $5,000. And they basically beat that, and I can do it for free. And I can donate to any nonprofit. And their UX, I don't need to have a Web3 wallet. I don't need to know about Web3. And they essentially beat the current Web2 market competitors. On the alternative side, I really like what you're doing, and we hear about retro PGF, but we don't really hear about auto PGF, where you're automatically getting public goods funding. I think experiments with like Regen Tips is doing, what you guys are doing at Givebacks, I think kind of creating this whole point system, even with Gitcoin Passport now being a primary driver of a lot of airdrops and people actually making revenue. We're starting to see, not even like without having this identity, without having this like passport, you're able to essentially get more rewards and more economic benefits than the traditional, Web 2, or not even Web 2, like traditional government tax benefits. So I just love seeing all these experiments come together, where now you're automatically getting rewarded and compensated for doing good actions, and then kind of tying back to the collaboration. Like, how do we build that in mind so that we begin to compound these benefits for like the most, I think, best kind of whitelist in the ecosystem, which are regens to airdrop to. So
Cool.
Yes, let's maybe, Pranav, maybe can close the second circle,
Totally.
and then Lauren, you can obviously speak, and then I'm going to invite the public to come take a chair, right? And to have the conversation also with the audience. So please,
Yeah, so
Pranav.
just specifically to this point of collaboration, I think, the space as we exist in a dichotomy, if I can call it, right? In one sense, we are a very small niche, but in the other sense, the space is huge. The Web 2, the Web 3 space itself is huge. We all live in our own internets, right? There's just one small part of the internet that we inhabit. I think there's a huge opportunity there in terms of our own spheres of influence, really to bring those collaboration opportunities, that as we can call them. That's one. On a tactical level, there's definitely collaboration required. For example, maybe like, sharing of information around grant farming. And that's like, specifically, we know that's a problem in the space. And there's like a very clear possibility to collaborate on that, on this particular point. So I just want to put out these two examples. There's definitely, in terms of the other energy, and before we really invite in the audience, right, the experiments that have been happening with Giveth, with GloDollar, with Regen, when you contribute, you get Regen points. When you contribute on Giveth, on Celo, GloDollar, right, and you get like a booster in terms of the Regen, right? So those are the kind of experiments where we're really bringing in people who are in our space, but not in our space. They're just there and they don't really have fun, right? And we want to make philanthropy fun also, right? It doesn't have to be like this boring giving away and feeling like, oh my God, I cut myself today, right? Doesn't have to be that, right? It could be, I had an ice cream today, right? So yeah, that's fun. Yeah, back to you, Leen.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
No, I think Lauren wanted to add, and I'm really looking around now. If everybody has a question or an extra voice that you want to add, a topic that hasn't been touched upon, please come forward.
So just come and sit.
Take space.
Come
Take space.
sit. Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. All right.
Okay, I'll do my point and then
So
we'll
yes, yes.
I just
Monty, thank you so much. It's so hard, I know. Xavier, maybe you can go sit there.
Yes. Cool.
just jumping off of what Pranav was just talking about with like and you were speaking about as well. It's just like the collaboration with like Regen tips and GloDollar and Give tokens. I mean, okay, so right now we have this quadratic funding round on Giveth. You can donate. You might have seen it because of the wristbands, and there's like incentives. If you just, you go to giveth.io/QF, you donate to any of these projects that are all focused on Earth causes, and then you can get like a multiplier on your Regen tips. You get Give tokens from Givebacks, and you get like increased multipliers if you're using GloDollar on Celo, and it's this whole thing. And I think it really kind of brings in a little bit of this, like you said, the fun and the game of it, and just like the multiplication on like the philanthropic power is incredible. Like when like the Regen token, when the Regen movement first started, we were actually in a previous QF round, this galactic giving QF round, and it had some good donation action. There was a $40,000 matching pool. I mean, we had like $10,000 of donations, and all of a sudden this Regen thing was announced, and everybody wanted their Regen points, and they wanted their name on the top of the leaderboard, and it was like, oh my God, I want to get top scores. And then the matching, the funds that people donated got to like $37,000.
Crashed, didn't it?
Yeah, and we were just like overloaded because so many people were like, oh my God, I gotta donate. Oh my God, I can't wait to support these awesome public goods projects on Giveth. And it's kind of like driven by this like gamification, this like name on the high score list, and even just like a little bit of that like, ooh, I'm gonna get an airdrop. Ooh, I'm gonna get something for it. And I think that like to this point of like collaboration, so we wanna like align incentives so that it's this like people can actually even benefit in a monetary way by supporting public goods. I think this is like a paradigm shift we're trying to create in Web3 that we can do because we're building economies, and we can make the economies act differently than the economies we're used to. We're contributing to your community, and contributing to public goods actually also benefits you. Like Jasper was saying, it's like, you can't blame the Americans for not donating. They needed to pay their rent. Like, what if you could get more money to pay your rent while you're donating, or like while you're supporting the community causes? I think that's something that we can really build here. And with the experiments that we're doing right now on the Giveth QF round, I think that like that's just incredible, just seeing this like this influx of people who are stoked about getting points, who are then like, how do I get GloDollar and Celo? How do I get GloDollar and Celo to support all the refi projects that are in the round? It's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. I want to bring a different perspective maybe here. So I've been in the space for a while. I mean, I started Open Collective in 2015, so also with the goal of helping all of those public goods. And it's not sustainable. It's not sustainable. And so I have a bit of anger in me. I mean, to be honest, I think this is all great, and I really appreciate and have a lot of gratitude for every project here. I think this is definitely, we need to experiment more because we haven't found a solution yet. So I'm really grateful to all of you. But also have anger when I look at this, right? We are trying to put together this community-funded event for a week. There is EthCC going on right now, 6,000 people over there. I have no idea how the total budget is, but there's more than 300 side events. Usually side events, like, people have a budget of 50K for the day, right? And as a community, we are 33,000 now, and it's been 2 days and a half. And there's plenty of people who work their ass off, really, their ass off, who don't have a job anymore because they basically work for the community and they are not being paid, right? When I was working for my Silicon Valley companies, we were getting like 5-figure salaries, right? For 6 figures, 100K or something for the year. Right here, we cannot even get people to be paid half of that for doing work for the community. And so while all of those conversations are great, I think like it's important to go back to the basics. I really invite you to open a community space and go experience how hard it is to actually get funding. And yes, GloDollar is fantastic, and yes, Giveth is fantastic, and we are on Giveth, and you can donate on Giveth, please do. But like so far, that's the result. That's the result. And when I talk to someone who is organizing one of those side events at 50K a day, the answer I get is, but that's because you don't do a good job at biz development. Or you don't do a good job at marketing or giving people what they want. I say like, fuck that. Fuck that. I don't want to live anymore in a world where everybody is supposed to be good at biz dev, be good at community building, be good at marketing, be good at Instagram, and God knows what next. We need to build this as a coordination, as a collaboration with everybody, and everybody has a different piece of the puzzle. If you are good at biz dev, fantastic, but don't keep the money for you, share it with the others. If you are good at building a community space, that's great, but don't keep it only for the people in your community. Open it up also to the crypto community and to others. Right, we really need everyone to bring what we can to the table. Anyway, so I'm sorry, maybe I come a bit across with some anger here, and it's an iteration process, and I'm looking forward to iterate more. I'm also grateful for the new Regen tips. It's an experiment. If you get ice creams, if you want to get an ice cream here just in front this afternoon, I don't care if you're a millionaire in the old petrodollar economy. You have no ice cream. You have an ice cream only if you contribute to the space, only if you contribute to the commons, if you spend some time here. And I think maybe if we can develop more and more of those spaces, more and more of those experiences, initiatives that can be available not based on how many petrodollar you have in your pocket, but how you contributed to the community, then maybe we'll have a shot at changing, at system change, not climate change. Maybe we'll have a shot at changing the incentives so that we can have more community spaces.
Hello everybody, I'm Giulio. I'm part of Crypto Commons Association and the Commons Hub in Austria. So cool to be here in another new Commons Hub. And I've been researching most of the projects that are here since years, so it's very nice to be here with the people building them, and thanks to the sponsors and to Commons Hub for hosting such a nice space. I was thinking in the last months that it's very nice to see all these wave of experimentations and crypto and non-crypto things, and then crypto things together to fund public good in many different ways. We saw yesterday that there are like a lot of in that book that Griff is there's like a lot of possible ways to allocate funding. I'm just worried seeing the latest developments that question or hint on and a remark on my side that I think it's important that if we do something regarding public goods funding and there are different entities involved, at least one of these entities has to be doing something on the ground, and something which is real, and something which is sustainable, and something which is regenerative, because otherwise if you're just plugging in DeFi Lego tools and Regen Lego tools, probably you're not generating value, you're just generating noise. And I think in this sense we have a grassroots economics, which is now now sustainable thanks to Celo, because they did an agreement. So now grassroots economics is sustainable thanks to the revenues of the Moderator node. Giveth, the new version is based on Polygon, so the ecosystem Polygon is providing liquidity. these things are cool because they are based on, in some part of the chain, you have some economic entity generating value stably, and then some of this value get channeled to the public goods. But yeah, let's not keep, let's be sure that there is somebody in your stuff that is doing something real. Otherwise, it's Wall Street again. Yeah.
You can see. Like the minute.
Hey everyone, my name is Liana and I'm from Impactful Artistry, and I really wanted to echo what you guys were saying, and I think, you know, definitely philanthropy is broken. You know, so many times we see, you know, people raising funds and everything, and does it really filter down to the people on the ground, right? It doesn't, you know. By the time, you know, the funds, you know, go to this person and, you know, this cause and that, the people on the ground receive like very, very minimal. And, you know, we're also it's really scary because I feel like, you know, we're just throwing the word impact willy-nilly, right? And we're very, very close to kind of like becoming Web 2 in that sense, you know? And how do we mitigate impact washing? Because I see a lot of people, you know, talking about impact, but, you know, where is the impact? They're not really talking to the community on the ground. They're not involving the community in the problem solving. So, you know, I just really want to encourage everyone, like, you know, when you're building, talk to the people on the ground. Ask them what they need, not what you think they need, right? Because we have very different ideas on what we think they need, and you know, the path to hell is paved with good intentions. And that's all I wanted to kind of like, you know, contribute to this conversation for now.
Maybe to quickly add on that, don't ask people on the ground, be on the ground.
Yes. Yes.
Do the work. Instead of trying to support the people who do the work, do the fucking work. Then you will really embody it, and you will really know what's actually needed. Otherwise, it's intellectual masturbation.
Hey, my name is Will. Yeah, it's just philanthropy, first of all, it comes from the term the love of humanity. It's a beautiful term, it's Greek. And it was turned into a tradition by the Greeks and the Romans for the elites who were collecting taxation, rent, to give back. It was a civic duty. And the Roman tradition of taxation kind of, it probably goes back to Babylonia. It's the issuance of coins. It's where we get the word money. You would give money to Juno Moneta, which was the temple. It was your payment. She would collect it for you and keep it safe. That was her role. And the progression of the Roman Empire used money now, and they introduced it out to all these different areas as a control mechanism for all of their empire. It wasn't a very sustainable model. There was a few problems with the Roman Empire. It eventually crashed. The philanthropic method was a way of releasing tension, right? So you had masses and masses of wage slaves in that system, and it wasn't necessarily a great life. And if you had these elites were able to give you a little bit, it would release that social tension. And so it was a social tension release mechanism based on the tax tradition, right? That's where it comes from, and we are in the lineage of that tradition. This is society, right? It went into, when Rome fell, it went into the feudal system, then it went into the colonial system, eventually went into the national currency system. And so philanthropy and taxation have always been kind of a balancing act together, right? You tax people enough, life is horrible, you better give something back, you release tension on the system. And so that's a tradition that we're in. When we use the word money, when we talk about cryptocurrency, national currency, usually it's a reference to money, and we're paying sort of a lineage and homage back into these ancient traditions, specifically that one. And there's a whole bunch of other traditions as well. And so there's this intersection of the Roman tradition meeting with traditions that were around the globe at the time and still are there, that were sort of more like social infrastructure. These were more like evolved traditions that involved reciprocity. So you can think of like how the birds and trees are reciprocal with each other in very long loops. It's evolved systems. They're very resilient. And you would have traditional cultures acting in very reciprocal ways with each other, but it might be large-scale reciprocity where you have pooled assets as a tribe or as a village. And so that's a lot of what I study is these kind of reciprocal methods, these kind of proto-social practices, and looking at the intersection of national currency with those. And so when you bring in philanthropy into a rural village in Kenya, that's been subjugated by the Roman system, through colonialism and whatnot. People will generally say, yes, give us that, it's wonderful. In a few tribes, they'll say, no, we need to actually know who is giving that money. We need to actually have a relationship. Because if they're very tied in back with their more evolved practices, I would say, over millions of years, it's gifts are fine, but gifts need some sort of relationship. You actually build relationship. And so what we're trying to do with the Red Cross, we work with a lot in refugee camps and all over, is that when they want to give money, they're actually seeding connections between local service providers. So we have everyone right now on Celo creating vouchers. They're promises, they're commitments against resources. They put those into pools together, so like a commons. And they enable people to have reciprocal drawing rights into that pool. And then the money can go in there to basically kickstart that pool. So money can go in there, you name service providers, they have reciprocal drawing rights, and now when the money's gone, they're left with something that resembles a social infrastructure. And it's a little bit like how we deal with heroin. Heroin is highly addictive. Okay. You give people heroin and there's, wow, it's amazing, right? And to get off the heroin, you really need to build social infrastructure. You need to build something that's resilient within the body to deal with the cold turkey, right? And so a lot of what the problem with Red Cross, for instance, is they go and give money, they stop and they go to the next crisis, right? And then all of a sudden people are like, whoa, fuck, we don't have money now. And so the technique has been, how do we go in there, build social infrastructure so they have connections, they actually build these, they're similar to like liquidity pools. And then when they pull out, it's more like, well, there's an open market there. Money can still come in. So you end up with a slow, like methadone version of the heroin, right? So.
Okay.
All right. We have 5 minutes left. Lauren, please share. And then maybe after that, we can do a mini closing circle where you share what would philanthropy, I know it's a very big question, so you have to answer it short, but what is the next thing that we need to do? Where do we focus our energy to improve the situation? But Lauren, please react first.
For sure. I mean, it's also kind of in line to answer that question. I mean, what Will was just saying about, like, I mean, you need relationships here. I mean, that's why the philanthropy thing doesn't work. Like, if it's just like, we want money from you because we're doing a thing, it has this like, please give me thing. It has this like begging kind of element, which I don't think really works. But if we actually kind of like, I think that like in the crypto space, we see like lots of incredible examples of projects that have tons of money. But why do they have tons of money? Well, they created a token and then they created demand for that token. And then people want their token and then they buy their token. And then that project has tons and tons of money. And then they can do whatever. They can throw all the events that they want because they created like some kind of clever sort of supply demand structure around whatever it is that they're building. And I think that's what we need to take. We need to take that concept and apply it to projects that are doing work on the ground so that they have these kind of supply demand dynamics. Like maybe they have their own token and then people like want to participate in the thing. So then they're buying their token, but then speculators are like, maybe that token's going to go up, and it creates a whole market. And then there's all this just money that's moving around a concept that like the output of that project is actually a public good. It's actually value that everybody can enjoy. And I think that's kind of like, I mean, it's the conversation I wish we were having more and more in Web3. I feel like there's this like, but like what is tokenization? But like, I think like tokenization with clever economic systems that are backing it, like there's a reason that token exists. There's demand that's inherently connected to some community value. Like we need to cleverly think of like how to apply those things like the Commons Hub. Like how can we create a token for the Commons Hub that like people want that token, then people start to speculate on that token so that we don't need to ask for donations to make something like this happen, because there's actually just money flowing through the economic system. And I think those are the relationships that we kind of need to build. Like gifts are fine, but there needs to be some kind of relationship here. There needs to be incentive alignment.
Yeah, so I think we need to remember there's no one size fits all approach in everything that we do, right? Because everyone is different. But if we think about, you know, in terms of what we're building, like how is this going to help humanity? How is this going to help cultivate a humanity first culture within, you know, our different societies and communities, and also for the sustainability of humanity in the long run? And it's not just in 5 years time or 10 years time, it's, you know, your kids, you know, your kids, right? So you've got to think about that long-term projection. Yeah.
We can close the rounds. Yeah.
Where do we go from here? I don't know. I like to say that we are going through a massive transition as a society. We are about to take a big turn, and before taking any turn, you need to slow down.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you crash. And so it's easy to get excited over many different things. And I think maybe where we go from here is actually an invitation maybe for each of us to go back to our community and see how do we contribute to that community where we are already have relationships. Let's. I dream of a world. The previous economic system was about transactions to replace relationships. How do we build this new world where we actually rebuild relationships? We can still have transactions, but like Will was just saying before, it has to be based on relationships. So let's build a web of trust, but also the web of funding, the web of resource allocation, the web of dependencies, interdependencies. That's maybe what I'd love to see.
Web of trust, right? That's a good one. And you know, just want to put this in context in terms of climate change also. We don't have a lot of money, and we're running out of runway, right, in terms of time, right? So that's definitely a big challenge. To me, I think, you know, there's, and again, just anchoring on what was put on the screen, there's definitely the technology aspect of it. How are we really leveraging technology to address these problems? That's definitely one tool that we have in the kit. The other is in terms of the shift in perspective, that technology also allows quick experimentation, right? So that's something that we are seeing in the space. We should really continue to do that, right? And yeah, I mean, it is a challenge, no doubt about it. Climate, and I want to bring this back to climate change, because essentially, you know, that's the larger challenge, just to let everybody know, right? Yeah, we all have problems, but yeah, that's the big one, right? And that's the framework that all of us should be really looking at. I may be biased, but yeah, that's me. Just so technology, quick experimentation, right? The trust that can come through technology, right? So that you are building relationships which don't require you to personally know that person to have that level of trust, right? So, and there was a third point which I'm forgetting, but yeah, I'm going to pass on.
Leo, last words.
Yeah, I think everyone in this room, probably most people in this house, are too rational. And the reason why there's money in crypto and in Web3 is not because of ethos or rationality or tokenomics or economics or new structures or fancy words or anything like that. It's because people see value in it because they like it because of social reasons. Like, the world works not based on laws and rules. The world works based on social dynamics and networks. And that's very true in Web3. And earlier today, there was a sentiment of how Bored Apes and DeGods were financializing in a bad way. And I don't know if I agree. I mean, sure, there are aspects that I don't like about those dynamics and those, like, what comes from that and everything like that. But at the same time, both of those started at a low price. And if you talk to people who've been in those communities for years, there are a lot of great things. And sure, few people got rich that shouldn't have, blah, blah, a lot of thoughts. But at the end of the day, we need to look more into detail, and it's not just about incentives. And external incentives are not what's actually driving degen things. People are not putting money, and people are not jumping into meme coins based on external incentives. They're doing it because of fun. Like, so many traders actually don't do it because they want to make the max amount of money. They could do all kinds of things. They are smart. Like, they do it because of the thrill and because of the fun and because of the and the social dynamics. So I think we need to look more into culture and vibes and hype is not just short-term hype. Like there can be like reputation in a cultural way and like actual community building and not just rational we're solving a problem. Like that is great and I love that, but all of us are too rational. That's not like, that's what's stopping refi, is that everybody is too rational. Like see the good in degen is how the way forward is.
All right, it's time to close. So I want to thank everybody that took part in the panel. We had Lauren and Pranav and Leo. We had Shot. We had Monty. We had Jasper. We had Xavier. We had Liana right there. Who am I forgetting? We had Will. Thank you so much for contributing. And if you want to make that real, you can actually, there's a couple of things that you can do for the community and you get an ice cream, which is really fun. One of those things is go meet the people in the park, clean up the park, and see who is out there in Brussels right here. All right, thank you so much, everyone, for joining.